I have no friends, only enemies I haven't killed yet.
Me too, Mantax. Me too. Hello everyone and welcome to the Recap Review. Today we're looking over set number 8919, Mantax. The set contains approximately 58 pieces, was released in early winter of 2007, and the time of release was about $10. Here we have it, the Stingray, as he was apparently known sometimes. This is a very interesting set. You've probably heard of Mantax throughout the community. Probably in a banner, maybe a signature, maybe there was some wisecrack joke being made about him. Okay, some old Bionicle fans are probably going to get that reference, probably going to understand there's some facts about Mantax that are going around. High spirit. But in the meantime, we're going to see how this set stacks up to these so-called rumors. Before we begin though, I'm going to preface this by saying that just because something is here, pro or con is here, does not necessarily mean I agree with it or have thought it up. I try and keep this as objective as possible for numerous different reasons I'm not going to get into right now. So, be it that the case, these are things that I've either personally observed over the years owning this set, or I've heard from the community over the years since the set has been released. So, just because it's here doesn't mean I agree with it or it's my opinion. I'll explicitly tell you if it is. With that out of the way, let's begin the review. Jumping right in to the pros. So right off the bat, this set has a very consistent color scheme of dark gray, black, and silver. So that really works out well for it. He definitely evokes that whole Stingray, Manta Ray kind of vibe here. Now I'll get into why he does that in a second. Now the pro would be his articulation, which is very standard. 3 in the arms, 3 in the legs, 1 in the head. Technically, you got 2 more in the tail here, because that can move, but, discretion. Overall, the set's build is actually also a pro. It's a very unique build. It does use the Anika build, however, it uses a very interesting modification. It's a variant of the Anika build, and that's really excellent. As you can see, you have the Anika torso there, but it's constructed like so. And it works out really well. It's very unique, it looks really good, it gives him a very unique stature, which is really great. So that's definitely a pro. Now the pro would be his new pieces. Now granted, these shoulder pieces are on Karapar, as we previously saw. However, he also does have the standardized Baraki pincers, the different head mold. We have the Baraki squid launcher, new feet. These feet are new to Mantax and new as a whole. And these new pincer pieces, which we will probably be seeing later, I'm sure. So that's really fantastic. As far as recolors go, we do have these armor pieces. I'm not sure about this Rakshi torso piece. It might be new in black, but I'm not 100% married to that possibility. So it's a maybe, possible recolor. But overall, we have a lot of great new pieces and a lot of great new possible recolors, which is really fantastic to see. Definite pro. Now the pro would have to be his overall appearance, his Manta Ray Stingray look. Now the head gets us across really well, with that whole broad look, the beady little eyes, and the whole swept back appearance. But it's gotten best across with the combination of his tail and his shoulder plates. Now that's what really sells this as being a Stingray or a Manta Ray. And that's excellent. His whole crouched appearance looks really good. Another pro would be his spikes. Now some may be thinking, what but the red spikes? They stick out, Eljay. You hate red pins, right? Like the red pin back here. Well, the red pin, that may be a con, but I'll get into that in a sec. But the red spikes, they are meant to pop out. And they're so focused around the red eyes, they're more accent pieces than they are obnoxious little oddly placed parts. So a lot of people would definitely consider those a pro, especially in the story where these are actually kind of poison tipped, poison laced, so that you step on them or you get pricked by one and bam, paralysis. So kind of sucks. It paralysis, I'm sure same thing, right? So, really sucks if you get hit by one of these. In the story, Mantax is one of the 6 Baraki warlords. Just said warlord twice, technically. Part of the League of 6 Kingdoms. He owns a lot of manta rays under the sea, or stingrays or whatnot. So, yeah, he likes to lurk around in the sand. He had the Mask of Life at one point. It was kind of a raw deal. It didn't really work out. But that's Mantax for you. So, overall, really solid so far. Really great, unique, custom build. We have these spike things, get off that whole stingray feel. Custom build, like I said, that is really cool. It's very unique. Very, very unique. I don't think we see something like that since Mantax. And overall, it has a really solid look. Sure, he wobbles around a little bit, but it's probably more due to the new feet, old joints or whatnot. Now, finally, to wrap up the pros, he has 3 different functions. First, not counting his articulation. First of all, he has his pincers, which are a Baraki mainstay. You know, just clip them together like that, push them together. He has his pincers on his right arm. Those can do the same thing as his mouth pincers. And then finally, he has the Baraki squid launcher, which is also fairly standard amongst the Baraki. Now, this is made of rubber, a really weird, malleable rubber, as well as these squid, which are made of some sort of rubber plastic. In order to use this, you take the squid and you have the eyes laid horizontally. You put it in the squid launcher, put your index finger through this little loop here, like a trigger. You pull back, and the squid should fire. Now, when it does work fairly well. We got these great little clips up here on his shoulders to put those squid. So, a lot of people could consider that a pro, and a lot of people may like the launcher, or just the launchers in general. That pretty much wraps up the pros. So far, Mantax is a really cool set. He really evokes that whole stingray look. He has a very consistent color scheme. The spikes they do not detract. He has some really well-working functions with these various pincers. But it's time to get on to the cons. What makes this set a little less worth going back to get? Well, right off the bat, his torso, while very unique, is incredibly awkward. It is incredibly gappy and spindly, and kind of takes you out of that whole manta ray feel. Now, while he is supposed to be real low and squat and close to the ground, this is really awkward. And it's really a shame, too, because he has such a great look. He wobbles around a little bit in the upper torso because of it. Another con would be his tail. Aside from the whole fairly immobile, he can't go many places. These are actually fairly difficult to pose if you aren't careful. His feet, while they're really cool, they have a little bit of trouble with stability, which is quite a shame. His head is also incredibly awkward back here because these are rubber, and where it should be armored over here, it's really just these 2 spindly things. It's another hole, another gap. The red pin, some may consider this a con because it is just a random red pin back here, and it doesn't add to anything since it's not really a spike, but I'll leave that up to you guys. This assembly here, this piece being used like this, is very awkward. I could have seen them put this down here, which would have made him taller, but then they could armor this up here. So it's a really odd, very unusual configuration, which is a shame. Some people might find that his arms are a bit basic. They're fairly just 3 to 4 pieces, which is kind of a shame. And he looks very skinny as far as his arms, which in a way is kind of detracting from the whole armor plating, but then it also adds the armor plating at the same time. So it's kind of a unusual mix. His color scheme is nothing out of the ordinary. It's fairly standard, so that could be considered a con by some. But finally, the biggest con would probably have to be the squid launcher. Squid launcher is unusual. It's this weird plastic. Nobody really knows why it's this weird rubber. It's very difficult to use, and over time it can wear down and eventually break along with the squid. So it's really a shame to see such a weird, almost unusable at times piece being included in so many different sets. These squid also are very bright neon. Nothing else really is. Now, if they were darker color, fine. But, bright yellow, bright orange, it varies, sure, but I don't know. And finally, I don't know if this is really for every single set, but I found that with this specific Mantax, the eyes are very loose, and they have a very, very common tendency to fall out of the sockets and get lost very easily. But overall, I think that pretty much covers Mantax. He's a very unique set. That's a very great way to describe Mantax. He has a very consistent color scheme, very unique torso build, and a very excellent, solid Stingray appearance. The new molds, the new recolors are very welcome. They're really great to see. However, Mantax fails in the gappy department. His torso is incredibly gappy, his arms are very basic, his tail is quite immobile, and some may or may not enjoy the red pin in the back, or the red spikes in total. He also has some stability issues, and his upper torso wobbles quite a bit, and his squid launcher is, as per usual, pretty terrible. However, I would say this is a pretty good set. I say it's solid, for the most part, and it's passable, especially even with the gaps. So if you're looking for a Stingray, come to the right place. Although, some of the exaggerations you might hear about Mantax are just that. Exaggerations. That has been my review of Mantax. What do you guys think? Do you like Mantax? Do you think he could make a Nuijaga blink? Let me know in the comments below or on the TTV message boards. Also let me know if you feel I messed up, missed something, or should have mentioned something in the two aforementioned places. Join me next week when I look over the eel, Eljay. Thank you all very much for watching, and see you then.